A video on how to adjust the valves on an SYM HD200. The first thing we want to do is remove the seat bucket and the battery cover so we can access the valves underneath also. The seat bucket is removed by taking out these two bolts. Here are two more and another two bolts. You will also have to take out this Phillips head in the front of the seat. We'll also have to remove the battery cover, which is the lower 5 bolts, Okay, now that we have the battery cover removed and the seat removed, I'm going to show you what needs to come apart real quick here. This is the top valve cover case. This is for your intake valves. These two bolts are going to be no problem, but this one under here is going to be a little bit difficult. Probably might be easier if you took off the actual body panels themselves, but we're going to save a little time. This round object right here, where my finger's tapping, is the timing cover. We're also going to have to take that up to align our T marks to make it top dead center on the compression stroke. Make sure this is definitely a cool engine before doing the valves. Below here, right about under here, is the case for the exhaust valves. We're also going to have to take this off too. I have to take my secondary horn off just to get in there, but otherwise you should be able to just take these two screws out on the back compartment and leave a little bit more room for you to get to. I'll also have to do some temporary wire rerouting for some of the other wiring that I've done on my Scoot. Here's the actual timing cover removed. It's just two bolts. I did not even have to take off the crankcase breather. We're just gonna push that aside for right now. Here's the inside of the case with the timing. This is the actual timing chain and cam itself. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see them or show the marks to you, but we're going to line it up anyway. Always turn this clockwise, never counterclockwise. Okay, I'm using one of my built-in trouble lights that I have mounted on the scooter in previous upgrades. I'm going to put this around here and see if we can see that timing mark. Well, it is very difficult to see, but if you look at this one bolt on the right-hand side, you will see a line that is etched in the actual timing chain. There it is. That is the top dead center mark on the actual cam. We're going to line it up with this mark right here. It's the indent that's on the actual case. Now you got to make sure that it's top dead center to do this. You will be able to tell because of the compression stroke. It will be very, very hard to get to that point. If it's easy to get to that point, then it is not on a compression stroke and some of the valves may be open. We need to have all of the valves totally closed. Okay, now you can see our mark is lined up with the case on the compression stroke. We're going to start with the intake valves on the top up here. There's 3 screws. Should be an 8mm if I remember correctly. We're going to put that on and give that a shot. You have to loosen up this main bolt right here. Make sure it's loose. Now what I won't be able to show you too easily is going to be the end adjuster. That is the actual adjusting itself. It's this little itty bitty square nut. That's what adjusts it. You can probably use a pair of needle nose pliers, and what you have to do is once that's adjusted, hold that in place and then tighten up the locking screw. Not too tight, but make sure that it is definitely tight. Okay, the locking nuts are loose. We're going to take our needle nose pliers, if I can squish it in here, and I have to tighten it up just a little at a time. And check the snugness on the feeler gauge. Still a little ways to go here. Okay, that should be it. Okay, now we have the one valve adjusted. Here comes the tricky part. you've got to hold the adjusting nut solid where it is while you tighten the locking nut itself. It may slip. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 attempts for you to actually do it. There's no conceivable way I could do this while holding the camera, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. But make sure that you hold this nut solid. Okay, now we have the top cover on. Just finger tighten the 3 bolts, 1, 2, and then the one that's underneath the frame support. And what you want to do is tighten up just a little more here, a little here, then a little here, a little more, a little more, a little more. A triangle pattern. Don't tighten up one at a time, and that may possibly warp the cover. I seriously doubt it, but you're always supposed to do in a sequence. Okay, now we have the bottom, the exhaust valve cover off. Notice we got a little bit of oil that came out of there, swishing around in the valve cover. Totally normal, don't freak out. Water settles, and if you don't have oil in there, oil settles. If you don't have oil in there, then you're going to have a problem. Gasket looks okay, so now we're going to try to squirm our way under there and get that done. Well, I can't quite get the camera in there to show, so what I'm going to do is take off this bottom cover right here. It's not that difficult. There's only about 4 bolts. 1, 2, 2 more on the other side, and I believe that's it. There might be another one. If there is, I will find it, but I'm going to pop that off real quick, and that way we'll be able to get you a bird's eye view of the actual valve when we're doing the exhaust. Okay, well, here's a picture of the exhaust valves. I've already put the feeler gauge in there, and both of them are still at 0.05. We're going to get this buttoned up so I don't get any more leaking oil out. You'll just get a few drops here or there. I just want to show you a couple other things before we go. This is your oil catch tube. It takes out oil and crankcase ventilation, moisture from the crankcase. Every once in a while, fill or unfill it. All you do is just unscrew this nozzle, let it drip out. Water's fine, oil's fine, whatever in there is just excesses from the crankcase. When you put the breather cap back on, it is possible to put it upside down. Make sure you don't. This tube that goes to the cam case cover has to be on the up position. Getting everything all buttoned up here shortly. We're going to give it a start up. We got 4,238 miles, and that's not bad considering 1 out of the 4 valves was just slightly out of adjustment. Way to go, SYM. This is an awesome motor. Again, we're 4,200 miles, and this is its very first actual valve adjustment. I've checked them every 1,000 miles and have never needed it, but this is the first. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our video on how to adjust your valves on your SYM HD200. It's pretty easy, as you can see. Just about anybody can do it. Save you some labor cost. All you need is some simple tools. Now we're going to fire this up and see how our results are. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me on the Scoot Dog website, or you can also email me at jeff@jeffs-hotsauces.com. Now let's give this a fire. Success! Thank you. Slacking low for this not helping.